It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I must tell you, I'm a rather shy, under the radar kind of real estate person, if I like to call myself that. I do believe that the business of shopping centers is not necessarily a business of real estate. But while my brief presentation comes on, I have great honor and privilege to actually welcome 5 very strong partners who have worked in making Select CityWalk what it is today. And I think it's that sense of partnership that we encourage with all our partners, all our stakeholders. And today, while we have stalwarts as Suresh, as Shailesh, as Mr. Yasho Sabo, we also have young entrepreneurs like Shalini, like Ivana, some of whom have never been seen on platforms like IRF, and I believe even Suresh is the first time Suresh has come to the IRF, so really a warm welcome to all of them. For you to know, Suresh is the Managing Director, CEO of Arvind Lifestyle, a brand that is iconic, has been part of the build-up of the retail industry in India, and he's been personally involved in Arrow, Flying Machine, now Debenhams, Gant, L, US Polo, a very successful brand, Nautica, Next, Billabong, and certainly a very significant player in the Indian retail industry. Before that, Suresh was with several years with MTR Foods and Hindustan Lever. So really you have a huge knowledge of the FMCG industry through Suresh. Shailesh, the most wanted man on IRF, he's shuffling between panel discussions this morning, but an industry veteran of huge repute, currently the CEO of Tommy Hilfiger, a brand that we are very proud to have, and I must say that amongst the highest sales per square foot in the shopping center are enjoyed by Tommy, so we'll really hear from Shailesh how he manages to do that. Before that, Shailesh was with Benetton, the Asia Pacific area, with managing 12 countries, and before that 13 years with Madura as well. So really huge experience out there on the panel this morning. Shalini Wich, a young entrepreneur, US returned, very passionate in what she does. And when my team, who's also sitting here, was looking for a family entertainment center, we looked at the traditional players who were in this business. And to be honest, they didn't like what they saw. They didn't like what was in the market. So here was a young lady who had come back from the US, worked for several years in the family entertainment center business. And she said, look, give me a try and I'm sure we'll do a great job. And it was a journey and a partnership. And today, her experience in Select CityWalk are becoming a springboard for her future activations, future centers. So we'll hear it from Shalini about her journey with us. We have Ivana, the beautiful CEO of the AP Group, GC Watches, Guest Accessories, and is now bringing in a brand called Havianas. And Ivana is actually one retailer whom I have met who probably spends more than 75% of her time talking to me about social media and how she wishes to do her brand launches and use CityWalk as a platform for the social media interaction of her brands. So I think we have a very, very dynamic and a different presence to Ivana and her experiences in the retail industry. Last but not the least, I think Yasho Sabu, I call him the bravest man in the Indian retail industry. Why? Because he runs a business called Kamla Dials and a business called Ethos for watches. As you all may know, that Ethos is probably the first player out there in the market that took on the unorganized, the black marketing of watches and said, every watch that I will sell will be legal, will be tax paid, will be through check and not through the cash business. And I can certainly tell you that it is a decision not of the faint-hearted. And we were very proud to have a partner like him. And when our team said that we want to bring in a completely organized player versus the unorganized market, I'm sure you all know those names. It was a big decision. We doubted ourselves, but I think the journey with Yasho has been also one. And I think we will talk about that as we go along. Before I come to my panel, I thought I would share with you a few slides on my journey in Select CityWalk. As I said, I'm kind of a person who's worked and believed under the radar. I don't come from a real estate background. My partners don't come from a real estate background. We come from hospitality and tourism. So this morning, I think it was Shalini over breakfast said, what is the secret of Select CityWalk? So, I said, I really don't know. To the best of my knowledge, it's common sense. And I said, if common sense becomes uncommon, that's the problem. But if you can approach most businesses through common sense and see it through the prism of your customer, and of course hard work and obviously some little bit of blessings thrown in, you certainly can build a very robust business. So saying that, let me just take you through that 5-6 minutes of journey of Select CityWalk, talk a little bit about what we have done, what's our strategy, how we believe in our relationships, partnerships, what is the DNA of this business. So some images of what you see, clear lines, clean lines, uncluttered, great line of sight, and the visuals. What are the general perceptions about Select CityWalk? First mover advantage in Saket. As some of you may know, we are very well positioned in a very great catchment area in Saket, one of the richest A+ categories of retail in the country. Great potential of residentials around it in about a 5 to 10 kilometer base, which is what is the essence of any shopping center. Good Vastu, that's the general perception, certainly, no question about it. Great catchment, as I mentioned. Right size. In hindsight, I wish it was bigger because I have people on my panel and also in the audience who keep asking for more space. I wish we could have been double the size, but I think it's a good size for a company to build a new model. Luck, no question about it. We were lucky. I don't think I can attribute it to more than, good fortune and luck. No real estate baggage. I think it's very important. I mentioned that we don't come from a real estate background. We were very clear we didn't want a sell and scoot model. We believe that the journey of wealth creation is a journey that probably takes more than a generation. So certainly didn't want to be anywhere close to saying that, we want to do it fast. So real estate is something that we kept out of our mind. I must confess, I'm a very lazy man. I'm very slow on the take. I take a long time and I do it at my pace. I really don't have a yardstick of saying that, I want to be a market cap of $1 billion or $2 billion. It's a 10-second orgasm, which I don't need to get. So really, it's the tortoise and the hare story in terms of what happens. So yes, we are only one center at the moment, but that doesn't mean we will not grow. And I'm certainly not running a popularity contest. I know there are retailers out there who hate me, who hate my team. So we believe that sometimes we need to do things for the shopping center. We may come across sometimes as arrogant, and I deeply regret that from the bottom of my heart because that is not my true DNA. It's not the DNA of my team. And we believe that at the end of the day, it's a partnership. But sometimes tough decisions have to be taken, which may not become very palatable. So yeah, certainly, we're not running a popularity contest out here. What's the strategy? What's the positioning? We're a fully leased model. We haven't sold a square foot and we will not sell a square foot in the shopping center, however tempting it may be in the going forward. We have a revenue share with 99.9% of all of our retailers. The only one retailer is a diamond shop, which obviously no one buys diamonds on check and through this thing. So hopefully in the next round of leasing, either we don't have them, but we would really like to be a full revenue share model. We've really spent a lot of time and energies in zoning and design. And I think some of the teams that worked in the past, some of the teams that work now currently with Select CityWalk are constantly looking at zoning and design. The retail mix, we understand where hopefully the customer is going. And we want to bring our customers new options, new opportunities. Because today with the growth of media, with the growth of internet, social media, the customer is so much more aware. And they don't expect centers like ours to be falling back on offering new brands. So it's very important to have a healthy churn in a center like us. We are upscale. We are not luxury. And we very clearly don't wish to go the luxury route. We will flirt with bridge luxury, as I call it, but we will certainly never be in the luxury space because we believe that aspirational India is really where the businesses, and young India, you've heard all of that, the demographics all point in that direction. We believe we are the best of High Street Ken and the best of India. We want a combination of that. We are not looking at being the Bond Streets of the world or the newborn streets. So very clearly, we wish to stay in that zone and genre and don't necessarily move away from that ever. We are women and family centric. I just see how much my daughter and my wife shop, so there's no lightning signs to the fact that women outshop men, 10 to 1, if not more. And as I said in the beginning, there's a healthy churn out there that we encourage. So some of our brands, I haven't put them all there. We are very happy. We are very proud to partner them. And truly, we are very humbled by the fact that these brands have chosen to be at Select CityWalk. And we are delighted that the partnership is going on. There are new brands that are coming in. A brand that we are very proud of, coming first time to India. Sephora opens very shortly. I can't give you the date because I have to let the brand talk for itself. But certainly there's lots of things happening, Armani jeans. So you can see that there's a whole bunch of new retailers that are coming in. And we are, again, rather humbled by the fact when brands come and tell us that, look, we want CityWalk to be the springboard of our businesses in India. So when you give us space, we'll come in. And sometimes brands come to us even before they've chosen the partner, which is very interesting, that they actually come scouting and they look for partnerships and they ask us our feedback on retailers, how retailers have worked. And obviously, some sort of interaction does happen with them. What differentiates us? To be honest, our customer comes first, our retailers come second, and we come third. And that's really the pyramid of it. And all three at a certain point need to be happy. I'm lost somewhere here. 1 second. Yeah. Need to be happy. As I said, we are slow and steady. We have no desire to build 20 shopping centers or 10 shopping centers. We will do it at our own pace. We believe in conversions and not footfalls. In fact, there are times when we actually discourage footfalls. I give you an example that when there's a movie premiere, and PVR rings up and says that, listen, the Dirty Picture or Heroine or Barfi is getting launched, and can we do a premiere? We're probably the only center that says we don't allow premieres in our own movie theaters in the mall, because we believe it brings the wrong customer. It takes away the shopping experience of our clients. Right in the beginning, we did a movie premiere with some Akshay Kumar, and there was 100,000 people in the mall, and I can trust me, the mall collapsed under the weight of that many people. The toilets, there were broken glasses, and the wrong customer comes in, because our true customer really is not that hungry to see, glimpse of a Bollywood star at any point of time. So really, we believe in quality and footfall. Our attention to detail, I can only say that we try our best, and we are constantly looking at it. If there's a whip I have in my hand or my team has, it's on quality. So just recently, we had great toilets, but somewhere in our customer feedback, they said they were great, but they were not wow. There was no moment of truth being enjoyed in our toilets. So we ripped them all up, and we're going to spend about $2 million in redoing 23 sets of toilets. They're probably done about 20%. So if you're next in Select CityWalk, go look at the toilets. I promise you'll see a very different thing. And in fact, now when retailers come, I first take them to the toilets. I say, look, that's really the evolution of CityWalk, and our attention to detail continues with a very, very strong whip in our hand. We are not real estate developers. We continue to invest. Fortunately, I just believe that in my mind, I have a slogan in my office, which a few friends have seen. It says that money is a very small part of wealth. Wealth for me and my family and my stakeholders means much more than money. So really, we continue to invest. We continue to invest in the long-term vision that we have, and we believe that that's the only way of building a vision and wealth creation at another level. So some of the examples, I can give many, but I don't want to take more of your time. We have rewards programs, late night shopping. I'll talk about late night shopping in the sense that, some of you may have heard this Harvard case study where I think it was Colgate that actually said that how do you sell more toothpaste? And so a young intern came and said, why don't you increase the size of the mouth of the toothpaste? And so when you squeeze that, more toothpaste comes up, more consumption will go up. So taking that same corollary, we felt that it was probably better. Why don't we extend the timings of the center? The same center can trade more. And of course, it took a little while to convince our retailers because obviously there are logistics issues. I respect that, After all, there are ladies who work there. Every store can't be open till 11 o'clock. But slowly and slowly, with a lot of cajoling, a lot of requests, sometimes the whip, and a combination of these three things has helped actually the trading go up. So the sales per square foot have gone up by about 10 to 15% by just increasing the trading hours. And I think that's such a simple thing. It really doesn't come from any greased lightning. And I would encourage people who are mall owners out there to look at stuff like that, because real estate is difficult. It's not easy to create, marquee real estate in this country. We know the challenges around real estate. So the only way you can do something like that is to look at innovation. So we looked at that. We celebrate every festival. We are delighted to celebrate every festival, national, international, and we do it with great aplomb. We invest a lot in the store decors, the mall decor. I think our budget is again about $1.5 million a year on store decor. We noticed that Wednesday nights we were very weak. We noticed that Wednesday nights afternoons was a weekday in the mall. So we created a property called Flea at night, where we allow the local customers, the unorganized market, to interact with the organized market, with one precondition, that the unorganized market should not infringe into the branded goods that we have inside. So it can't be a brand. It can't be a brand selling its seconds out there in the flea. No, it will not be allowed. Purely be the unorganized space, the entrepreneur who cannot afford to be in a CityWalk, but yet must be part of the microcosm of society that we all represent. So really, that was the key to it. We work with CSR. CSR is ingrained again in our team's DNA. We want to give ourselves the platform for multiple sclerosis society, for cancer society, for the armed forces, and we become a platform for them to interact with society at large. And truly, we believe in mass personalization and quick interventions when we see something going wrong. It's not as if everything we do is right. There are difficulties out there. Situations happen, but I think our teams are now very motivated to intervene at a quick level very fast. So there's a rewards program, late night shopping, Flea at night, some glimpses of events, Republic Day, Turkish festival, Korea. So it's not just Indian festivals, it's also the international festivals that we celebrate quite interestingly. CSR, so multiple sclerosis, as you see. We have a puppy store. You want to adopt, in the whole city of Delhi, if you want to adopt a little puppy, which is an abandoned puppy, not pedigree dogs, come to Select CityWalk. And I can tell you, we have, through Select CityWalk, over 2,000 little homeless puppies have been adopted. And I think it's truly such a blessing for all that we do. And I think that's something that my wife personally, champions, and I adore her for that. So something like the puppy love stall happens. We also do the rest of the stuff, hands-free shopping, shoe bag repair, which is, I think, standard. Of course, the key here is that these just don't become line items in a list of services. Behind each and every one of them is a standard operating procedure. There's a process and there's a thought process to how that can be better. So really, at the end of the day, while we do this big picture gyan, it's very important to also work and focus on the smaller bits and pieces of the business. So some images of that, hands-free shopping. Our promotions are, again, qualitative versus quantitative. We're very happy to leave the central atrium free, devoid of clutter. We don't allow mics, hand mics, promotions. Very rarely do we even allow some music in it, which is beyond, because we do believe that it's like a sanctum of a temple. You can't just bring anything and everything into a shopping center. You got to do it qualitatively rather than quantitatively. So there is stuff happening. Of course, it adds to the whole panache of a mall, of a shopping center, but it is being done with a purpose of quality rather than quantity. And often, I would say, out of 10 proposals that we would receive for promotion, we probably only do 1 or 2, and we qualify them very carefully. So strict design norms, strict, usage of the center is very critical from that perspective. How do we reach out to our customer? Monthly newsletters, Facebooks, Twitter, YouTube, BBM, website, and we have our own radio station inside CityWalk. That's something very new, very unique. We have our own radio station that reaches out to the customer, because there's lots of customers that come through that portal of CityWalk. What are the results? I'd allow my panel to talk a little bit about that. But we believe that our results are that we are selling twice the national average of sales per square foot. We are probably the best performing center for a lot of brands in India and Asia. In the top 1, 2, 3, we believe that it certainly comes out of all that we do in a collective manner. Our turnover growth, we track each and every customer's sale through point of sales, and of course some of them report into sales to us, but everyone reports in their sales. So we see how are, for example, shoes selling this year versus last year. How is apparel selling this year versus last year? Zone B is selling less, Zone C is selling more. What we need to balance it out. Are we seeing greater tenacity in shoes, for example, or accessories, for example? And there is a thought process to this madness, you know. So at the end of it, when we turn around and say no to a brand, it is not because we don't like the brand. It is not because we don't believe in the brand. Trust me, it's coming from a lot of customer feedback. It comes from a lot of data that flows back into the center. And truly, that's what makes all these brands successful. And hopefully through them, if there are people out there in the audience who are looking to build shopping centers and great shopping centers, I think you need to work in this format. Footfall growth, truly, weekdays about 38,000 plus, weekends about 75,000, and we don't want that to grow much more. We want it to be easy at that stage. I think we've reached stabilization, and we find ways and means of having to cut back a little bit on footfalls. How do we do it? Our learnings, I think last slide. First learning is all that glitters is not gold. So certainly, you know, that comes straight from us. We have lots more to do in this journey. We also realize we see a lot of glossy presentations from retailers, Suresh, Shailesh, which makes it very, very difficult for us to choose between brands. We've also realized that for us, and that is not probably the case with all centers, smaller formats have worked for us a little more. We believe that the customer likes choices, variety. We can always have a debate on that on this floor as well, because we have friends on the panel and in the audience who've looked at larger formats. We believe some of our original leases were too long. And I think that there has to be a balance between the length of the lease and the productivity of the retailer. And I think I realize that retailers invest a lot in that location. Investors invest a lot in that foot outs. And maybe we have to find a correct formula to balance it out if a brand is underperforming. And if a brand is underperforming, it's not about amputating a brand. It is truly about working with that brand first. Working with them to understand their challenges, their difficulties. And if that doesn't work, then obviously we look at different solutions. Revenue percentages could be different. You know, when we started in the beginning, you know, I just think there was a general euphoria. You know, someone said 3%, someone said 20%. I think we didn't apply enough mind to the retailers' challenges in some of the businesses and the opportunities. We realized somewhere we may have taken a little too much. Yasho believes I've taken too much. Some believe I've taken less. Some believe that, so we need to fix that. We need to correct it. And it's not just, there's not one formula that fits all in our business. There are operational challenges in running a center like this, which obviously we realize. We work still in incredible India. We still work in societies and microcosm societies that, you know, you need to work with local municipalities, police, authorities. So there are challenges out there which are not easy, and which makes me believe that growth of Select CityWalk and its brands will never be pan-India. Probably, maybe my children may do it pan-India, but I probably will hang my boots up after taking it regional at some stage. Outsourced industry probably I believe is not responsible enough. So we realize that, you know, so things like security, housekeeping, even though we outsource them, but at the supervisor level, they're all our people, fully paid for us by us. And we said, no, there's no way that we can leave this asset in the hands of outsourced industry. So that's the kind of stuff that differentiates us. Disappointed in the performances of several brands. You know, as I said, all that glitters is not gold, and really, really honored by the presence of some of those brands. So it's a combination of baskets that we have learned going forward. One day I will write a book when I don't own the shopping center and somebody else owns it or my family owns it and tell you some of the feelings that I've had. I don't think it's fair for me to name people at this stage. And as I said, I have no market cap aspirations. So there's no desire to go list these businesses. Fortunately, whatever we do with internal accruals. We're happy growing the business that way. We look at FDI today as a game changer in the business. And one more point, I would say, the pricing of luxury disturbs me no end. I do believe that the Indian customer is far more reformed out there, far more informed, and the pricing of luxury and bridge luxury needs to be sorted out. And some brands, like Zara's of the world, have shown the way that if you price properly, McDonald's of the world have shown if you price properly, you're looking at much better businesses. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is a short expose, for want of a better word, on Select CityWalk, to share with you what drives this business. And I'm delighted that I have this great panel with me. And let me begin actually with Suresh, who's debuting at the IRF.
Because I think he has laid out so beautifully what makes a mall successful. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for me and my fellow panel members to talk anything more than what he said. So please pardon me if I'm going to be a bit repetitive. It's going to be very, very difficult for me to find something which is different from what he said. But the most important thing at the heart of what he said is all about the consumer or customer. And because if you really look at the evolution of malls, which is probably 5 to 8 years old in this country, what is the problem with the malls of the earlier years is mainly because everyone forgot about whether, I think the mistake is from both the sides, both the developer's side as well as the retailer's side, because I think both were thinking about themselves and not about someone who is going to come and make your property successful or make your store successful. I think that is a fundamental difference which differentiated, say, a Select CityWalk vis-a-vis the other malls, which came in around the same time. Because if you really look at today, we can, of course, cannot count the number of successful malls in your fingers, because there are many malls which have become successful today. But if you take 5 years back, virtually you don't need even 10 fingers to count the successful malls. You could actually count within 5 fingers the successful mall. And on top of that was Select CityWalk. Mainly because of that one differentiation among the various things they mentioned, what Arjun mentioned. The biggest differentiator, I would say, is their consumer focus right from day one. See, today everyone talks about consumer focus, but being a pioneer and then taking that to a completely different level 5 years back, I think requires a visionary approach. I think that's what Select CityWalk brought to the table. Keeping consumer in mind and then sort of looking at retailers as one of their customers and then driving the mall. Because I would say that simple thing. When all the malls started, in the first thing which they did in terms of the lease model, which has become a sort of a norm with the mall developers today, was not a norm even in Delhi 5 years back. I think that's the first masterstroke which Select City did, which is a lease model rather than the sellout model, which completely spoiled the mall in the initial years. Of course, many have learnt it now, and lease model has become a norm. Second is to focus marketing activity, because marketing is not just the brand's responsibility. I think taking marketing as a responsibility of the mall is a second immediate, good ingredient of Select City which made. In fact, the number of emails I used to get when they started about different activities was like, it will be the only mall in the country which will send emails saying that we are doing this activity, we are doing that activity, and then, participate in this activity. So keeping the consumer in mind and providing that experience to the consumer, I think is the second important ingredient, and I think is the most important ingredient. And the third, of course, I would say is in avoid, temptations. I think Arjun very nicely captured in various facets, of avoiding temptations in various slides, like, being lazy and, slow. Because it's very, very tempting, particularly for a mall like Select City, with the kind of success they had. It could have led to a number of things. I don't want to elaborate what are the things, they could have done, which should have possibly gained them a better revenue than what they are getting today. But I think keeping the consumer who is coming to the mall in mind, they should get the right mix of brands, and keeping the retailers, success is important. They avoid a lot of temptations, which I think is again an extremely important thing for a mall to succeed. So I would say that these are the three important ingredients for Select CityWalk to be, I would say very clearly, the number one mall in the country. And what I am really glad is to even see how Arjun and his team is really gearing up for the future. Because the future is going to be an experience which is going to move seamlessly between, I would say, an online and a brick and mortar kind of an experience. And some of the work they are doing in the social media, and is going to play a big role. Because if you really look at the evolution of retail in developed countries, they say that, the retail in developed countries in a phase 3. Phase 1 is all about Walmart, where you put up a big box retail, and then sort of, in a right place, and then the economy was growing, and then 10,000 families can actually feed 1 lakh square feet of Walmart. Then the second phase is more about specialty retail, which came in, which could be an apparel specialty retail or a food specialty retail. Now the third wave is all about, and then there is the pure click and online companies like Amazon, which is the second phase. I think the third phase is all about the merging of online and the physical experience. And I think that is where I think Select City is. I'm glad that, some of the things which he mentioned is going to really drive the mall towards a seamless experience. And that is what is going to make and continue to make Select City as one of the most preferred mall. So I would say that, these are the three things which Select City did very well, which make them successful. And I think many malls today are, in a way, following that route and then becoming successful and going towards delivering that fantastic consumer experience, which will combine both online and physical brick and mortar experience, is what will drive the future of both the retailers as well as mall developers. And I'm sure that, Select City will be setting that, being a pioneer in the first wave, will become a pioneer in the second wave also in India.
Thank you, Suresh. That's very kind of you. And yes, truly, I think what Suresh mentioned about the online space, and I think that truly is the next challenge that we are examining at the moment, is how to create Select CityWalk in the cyberspace. And I think there's maybe a couple of years down the line, if Images invites me again, I'll come and share that vision as well with you. And hopefully by then, we would have taken some few baby steps in that direction. But now let me move on to some of my other panelists. Shailesh, if I may come straight to you. You wrote me a very nice letter a few days ago, and I thank you for that. We have a 2,000 square foot Tommy Hilfiger store. Can I share the numbers if it's not private? Yeah, but I must take his permission. So you wrote me a lovely letter that, a couple of months ago, the store clocked daily about 1.8 crores of sales, and that was the highest sales Tommy had actually experienced in any store in the country and in the market space. So really, taking on from that, Shailesh, how do you think malls and destinations such as ourselves and others in the room need to emulate that, and how can you be more successful, and how can we work together in making that experience happen at a greater level?
And to go back a little bit, Arjun, from Select, in last 20 years experience, we've seen evolution of the mall business. So go back in West, we saw the first malls in Pyramid Crossroad. We saw R City in Mulund. That was the first phase of the malls in India. And then in North, we saw the Ansal was one of the first few malls. The Gurgaon malls happened thereafter. And South, I remember Chennai, we had a Spencer on Mount Road. So we saw the first phase of what we call malls in India, and there were a lot of gaps, etc. And then Select happened, and we've been very, very closely involved from the day one. In fact, the first store I signed in Select, I was working for Esprit, and I was launching Esprit Net. So we signed that first store, which became EDC, and then we opened. And today I'm proud we have 3 stores in Select on every floor.
Floor.
And last being the children's wear store that we opened in the children's zone. what we've seen, I'm coming from the numbers point of view. Let's take example of the last store that we opened in Select. I think there's a lot of learning there. We almost waited both the side, and both the sides as part of the same family. We were both on the same side of the table. We always said that we want a Tommy children's wear store. We said, okay, second floor is the area for children's wear. And we both, I remember your team, and we kept looking at option, and both of us are very quality conscious, and we said, no, we will look at the right space. There is not hurry, even if we wait. So we almost waited 9 months before we sort of, decided and agreed to a space, and we created something which was innovative and something which was not in the main zone, and we created that. The support, and that's what I want to share with the people here, is that the day we sort of opened the children's wear store of Tommy in Select CityWalk, I think we had 5 to 6 point of visibility in the mall. We had these hoarding, we had these signages, and very rarely do you see a partner as a mall who gives you that support. Okay, you're launching a new store in my mall, you're launching a new business in the country, because children's wear, the premium children's wear itself is a new category in India, imported merchandise. And I was very happy when I walked into the mall and we saw the visibility on the ground floor, on the first floor, on the escalators, everywhere. I mean, a woman who wanted to buy children's wear for her kids, she wouldn't miss any, point, whichever way she walked in, whichever side she walked into the mall, and she would have definitely seen the, a signage or a hoarding of kids wear of Tommy. And I think from day one we started doing good business. I remember on that second floor on a small side, we did 20 lakh plus business from the very first month. And I think the credit goes to the support that we got from Select team. We had visibility all across. The location was well thought through from both sides. We both chose a good location, waited for, right time to get that location. And I think from the day one, the business has been good. So today we do almost like 2 crores a month from 3 locations in that mall. And if I add up the square foot of all the 3, it'll be almost like 3,000 square foot. On a 3,000 square foot carpet area, we do almost 2 crores of business a month. I think that's a fantastic. It's in the top 10 location for us in Asia. And we're very proud, Arjun, and that letter I wrote not for it from my heart. I mean, because I just wanted to share the feeling that we had with you and your team. That and I think that feeling is important, and the way we work closely. And very few times you work with a mall where from the launch party of our first store on ground floor, I remember Neeraj was there, a director in the company, and the whole management team was there for our launch party. We had some film stars. It's a very high quality who's who of Delhi was in the store that time. But we had very rarely you see the mall, owners and the family is there with you for the launch, and they kept chasing us. When are you having a launch party? Let's do something in the mall. Let's create visibility for Tommy in Select and for Select. Very rarely you get invited for a party. So I've been invited to Arjun's farmers party 24 hours. I know the entire team, the marketing team. I remember how passionately he showed the concierge service, the stylist service he wanted to. So there's a lot of such, anecdotes over last, journey of 6-7 years. I can share you. I think that's what makes it kick, that it's very passionate, well thought through. And I think, as Suresh said earlier, Arjun's presentation was very, very exhaustive and, like 360 degree. He's covered everything that is there to learn about the Select experience. Couple of points which I normally say is that being consumer centric, being data centric, a lot of other malls which are good malls, we learn, they talk numbers. They say, okay, conversion, like you said, thoughtfulness. There is always a data to discuss what is the sale intensity, what is the rental as a percentage of sales. So there's a lot of thoughtfulness goes into the numbers. So I feel as a business person, I feel comfortable if my partner on the other side is talking numbers with me, is talking data, talking a process with me. So some of these things, service orientation, consumer orientation. Toilet is not the first time we discussed today. I think I and Arjun have discussed this maybe 2 years back also, and we were discussing that, okay, toilets are, good quality, but Arjun was not happy. He said, yeah, you may be saying they're good quality, but I think I want to improve it. And today he's saying he wants to spend $2 million on improving the toilet. But I think that's what makes a good mall, that consumer feel at home and they're willing to use the facilities and utilities. So that, in nutshell, I think it all makes a good sort of mall, and it makes our numbers reach 2 crores a month from a location.
Yeah. And I must add what Shailesh is saying, that, when I received that letter from him, and I think it's a two-way process. I think, you need to kind of pat each other's back when things are going right. And I think when you write that letter, and my team was so excited, I tell you, they went out, had a great drink that evening, and it motivates them that here is a retailer who's acknowledging your position. So, communication is a two-way tool, and I think really would encourage retailers to also partner the same way with this thing. And today, Shailesh asks for something, and let me tell you about the little marketing thing about brand positioning. Whatever we may write as our brand promotion in the catalog, we'll say, okay, we'll give you so much signage points. The team is sitting here, they're told, please deliver twice that number. Because, so that there is a feeling of that, yes, the mall has worked together with you and given you more than you expect. So really that also, creates a wow that, Shailesh comes into the mall and suddenly he sees Tommy kids all over the place. So I think it's that bridge that we've created successfully with our retailers. Let me move now to Shalini. Shalini, as I mentioned, this is the first shopping center you came into India. You worked in America for several years. And ladies and gentlemen, I kept the family entertainment center, some 8,000 square feet, empty for 3 years to wait for the right brand. And we didn't find there are several players out there, nothing to take away from what they do, but we didn't find the right player who understood where the mall was going. And here came this young lady, very enthusiastic, and literally sat outside my door till I gave her the space and convinced me that, listen, I'll run the best family entertainment center, however small the space is. So Shalini, tell us about your journey and how you're going to use your first experience in CityWalk as a springboard for your future businesses, because you're a different, the stalwarts have spoken. Right. And you're an aspirational retailer today.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you, Select CityWalk. Thank you, IRF. Just so some of you who are not familiar with the family entertainment center is because a lot of retail brands have said it all. And family entertainment center, like Arjun somewhere said, that his wife and his daughter are actual shoppers. And today we see a lot of families with children coming into the malls. Brands like Tommy Kids wants those children in there. Now what happens is, way passé was the time when you would go to uncle's house on Sunday and have chai pakora or go and watch a 3-hour movie. A lot of the family interaction, looking for venues to where you can spend time with your children, started coming in. I still remember, after moving back from the States and being from the entertainment industry, having worked with Discovery Zone, having the management, retail, and entertainment experience, coming in to hang out, coming into Select CityWalk, and with a vision of creating an area where we would cater it wouldn't just be ideally a kids entertainment. I was looking for, to open a comprehensive area for family fun. We were trying to cater to ages 2 to U2. So, when I had a model and a vision, and it was different. It wasn't just another kids area, a toddler area, or a gaming zone, ideally seen by the food courts. When I met Arjun first time, and like he said, I was sat outside his door, and I explained the concept where we wanted to do edutainment panels, bringing in a lot for the first time to India. And wrapping this up, from my end, I'll tell you, like some of the panelists over here said, he's been the pioneer. So, leading the industry into now family entertainment center, and I have a lot of malls that have approached us, but I need to feel that I'm part of a family. I've partnered in with Select, and I need that feeling. I need that assurance that the vision and the wavelength is the same. Somewhere I knew what Arjun had in mind. It wasn't just, of course, there's a convenience factor where you can leave your child in the toddler area and go shopping. It augments a lot of sales. Augments sales in the kids' clothing industry. Women shopping convenience where they can actually, have their baby taken care of. All that is one. But then what happens on a Friday evening or a Saturday evening when your kids say, Dad, let's go somewhere? Where do you go? A fine dining. So here is a place where we've got areas that cater to different age groups. I kept in mind the sibling age differences. I'm a mother of two myself, so a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old. Try entertaining a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old together. We tried to put, I would call it in the retail industry, a one-stop shop in entertainment. And Select CityWalk support right from the beginning, of course, has been phenomenal. Their vision was very, very clear. The wavelength was the same. And now more than that, I will go ahead to say something that Arjun has a knack, and so does the Select CityWalk team, of giving things a very personal touch. It's the customer walking in to our hangout is a VIP guest for them. So from that little namaste that, they have at the entry point, and in the entertainment industry, when I would even talk about making accessibility a little more convenient to the entertainment center, the other entertainment centers here in India, what we've noticed by the food courts, there's always a safety security issue. You don't want to leave your child in a very crowded area. Nicely tucked in and then giving us a designated elevator going up to the top floor is sometimes what parents need. Stroller parking, feeding rooms, stroller rentals. They were right behind, and they had the concept of entertaining the families with children, right? And Arjun, I'm waiting to grow. Well, I know that you're lazy and everything, but honestly, we're waiting to grow with you.
Thank you, Shalini. As I said, I'm lazy, so bear with me till then. Ivana, small formats, beautiful formats, and you've used CityWalk now over the last few years, in launching some of your businesses. Your small experiences, because here's Ivana with very small formats, GC watches, and now something new I learned this afternoon, anti-aging. So I'm waiting to get that one in. Sounds like the Somras we all need.
Thank you, Arjun. I think it's been an interesting afternoon, and thank you for the expose. I think the people that are sitting here in the room are trying to understand what makes a mall successful. And I'm sure that some people are saying, well, yeah, okay, that sounds easy, but let me tell you that it's not. I think that what makes a mall successful is a lot of elements put together. And I think one of the things which Arjun and his team bring, as well as Select CityWalk, is first passion. I think the passion that they bring to the business is what makes it so successful and so different. I mean, if you were looking at the presentation, how many malls across India can actually talk about having an adopt a puppy stall? Now, that doesn't come from just looking at numbers or walk-ins or turnovers. That's something called passion, which is very, very plausible, and you can't put it down on paper. I think the second thing is partnerships. I remember coming to Arjun at that point, we were distributing guest watches, and we had a task of developing GC watches, which is a higher end of guests, and we had to position it differently. And at that point, I came to Arjun and I said, give me an opportunity. Give me a small store within your mall, and I promise you that I will make it successful. Well, whether I made it successful or whether he helped me make it successful and his team, but the bottom line is that GC, because we put it in Select CityWalk, actually we were able to develop the entire distribution network in all of southern India, not only, northern India, not only Delhi, but Chandigarh, Ludhiana, and the surrounding areas, or rather surrounding cities as well. So the partnership and actually listening to each other is what makes a big difference. And that's what brought us also to develop Havaianas, because what we do develop as a company is something completely different. So from selling watches, we're now selling chappals and Havaianas, and Arjun and his team were the first ones to actually understand the opportunity behind it and to give us the opportunity to present it. And we're now discussing something like a Brazilian night. And if you looked at the presentation again, they had various different nights and different country nights as well. I think the third element as well is people. I think again it boils down to who is actually developing the mall, which also links up to passion as well. It's the person, it's Arjun, it's his team, it's the attention to detail. Because how many mall developers actually talk about a toilet? Now, it may sound very silly, but I'll never forget one thing, and I'm from a small country called Serbia, when we were traveling and I was 11 years old, and we crossed the border at that point, and we went to a toilet in Germany. And I will never forget one thing, that after we finish in the toilet and you flush, the toilet actually turned around and it cleaned itself. And I was at that point staring at the toilet, and I will still remember that memory until date. Wherever I go where the toilet is clean and there's an attention to detail, that means that the rest, whether it's dining or shopping, etc., is actually going to be perfect. So I think it's all these attention to details and all of this which has helped us as partners develop and also give the highest return on investments in the entire country. So thank you, Arjun and team, for that.
Thank you, Ivana. I'll now come to my back marker, Yasho, as I said, whom I describe as the bravest man in the retail industry. Truly, if there was an award for anyone in that category, he would certainly be my top nominee for that. Not easy to do what he does, ladies and gentlemen, to sell watches of 10 lakhs of rupees without black marketing, and where the brands themselves support black marketing of the business. So that's the biggest secret of his business. So he's standing out there like a beacon of light, and we truly are very proud of this partnership. So Yasha, truly, tell me, how do you feel your relationships working not just in CityWalk, but in other malls? You now are in other centers across the country. And are you seeing a change in how retailers are looking at your business, how malls are looking at your business, how customers are willing to pay, duty on a watch for 10 lakhs of rupees and still put it on an American Express credit card quite happily?
Thanks, Arjun. So first, let me return the compliment. If you say I was brave, I think CityWalk was bravest of all, because when we signed, we weren't a Louis Vuitton, we were nothing. Ethos was not known anywhere. So I think you did a great thing by giving us this opportunity. I do want to say that the business that we are in, selling premium and luxury watches, is a difficult segment. It's difficult because I don't know any person in India who would buy an expensive watch, and I mean anything above 50,000 rupees. 10 lakhs is obviously is on the other side of the spectrum, but I don't know anyone in India who would buy a watch of that kind of price without checking prices worldwide. And today it's easy to do that. Mostly people have friends, and it's a very common experience in all our shops where, some of the expensive watches are sold. A customer comes, looks at the price, and then, sort of calls his friends outside or checks on the internet or whatever. So there's no chance that we have of selling these watches at other than globally competitive prices. And then you have to recognize the fact that we have almost about 35% of import duties to pay, and VAT on top of that, which in Delhi is 20%, more than anywhere else in the country. So to be able to reach a globally competitive price after paying all the taxes and being very confident that every watch in the store is official, there never will be, any question on that, is one of the biggest challenges in this business. And obviously it comes, by believing that these things will change, import duties will come down, and gradually they are starting to do that. But of course it requires a very long-term view. It requires a lot of belief in what you're doing. It requires in giving an experience to a customer which is not always the cheapest price. Because of course there are retailers who are able to offer many of the watches that we offer which are not legally imported. And if duties are not paid, then they can offer them cheaper. But to be able to sort of compensate for that, we have to give an experience which is different, which is more valuable. And we do recognize that, out of 10 customers, there probably will be 3 or 4 which will never buy from us. But that's not really our customer. And I think most of the time, that's not the CityWalk customer. Yep. And therefore we find a great matching of minds here. And I think the CityWalk customer comes in looking for a global experience, not always the cheapest price. And, that takes me a bit to some of the future challenges that we see. Obviously, this sector is evolving. India is still very, very nascent in its consumption of expensive watches. But what can we do to give that experience, apart from a store experience? Simply information. In India, if you want to go and buy an expensive watch, you'd be surprised how difficult it is to know what is the real MRP of this watch. Because there is a practice of hiking up the price and then giving a discount and, trying to attract people just by the discount. So the first thing that we did when we started several years ago was just label the MRP on the watch up front. It's right out there. It's on our website. It's everywhere on the boldly labeled. That itself got such a lot of trust from customers. We were surprised how simple thing like that can do. Fast forward to a current situation. Watches need after-sales service. You sell an expensive watch after 3, 4, 5 years, you will need to get it fixed, like any other car, like any other complex mechanism. When you get a watch serviced, you have no idea what is the price you're going to pay. And from a customer's point of view, I find this completely unacceptable. So there's a lot to be done. I mean, in terms of not only giving that first experience to the customer, but being able to sustain it and, getting the customer to come back again and again. And I think an environment like CityWalk is just perfect for this because the customers are coming back. The customers who first bought a watch for 10 or 20,000 rupees when we first started, that customer is today buying a watch of 1 lakh and he's talking about buying a more expensive watch. And he's doing it because he trusts the place, he trusts us over there. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Arjun, for giving us this opportunity, for believing in what we do, for believing in doing things the right way. And before I end, I do want to say one thing which I think distinguishes CityWalk for me particularly. We are a brand, we are not a Louis Vuitton, we are not a globally known brand, we're just starting out. And yet at CityWalk, with the team and all the way up to Arjun and Neeraj, the accessibility is something that is remarkable. You call on a mobile phone and it's answered. You send an email, you get it back. And it's not only accessibility, it's respect. And respect for an independent small retailer like me, that's an immense feeling of partnership. I think a lot of things were said, which I do second wholeheartedly. But this feeling of respect that we get from being there is indeed unique. So thank you very much.
I think, Yogeshwar, we should have called one retailer who didn't like us. We should have called next time. We must put a retailer out here who have to tell us what we didn't do right. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, my panel and I are open to questions. I think you had a short example of what a good shopping center should do. And as I said, truly, it's a journey. We certainly are a long way away from what we believe is the end of this journey or the start of this journey, whichever way you want to put it. But happy to take any questions. You have a stunning galaxy of retailers out here. The young lady in white, may I?
Thank you. My question is to Arjun, specifically for you. I was just reading through your brochure, which spoke a lot about zoning. And Shailesh, you also mentioned how you had split your stores in terms of categories so that the kid-specific category is at the kids zone and the men-specific in the men's zone. So I guess it was a vision on your part where you had the zoning across the mall and you wanted retailers of the same category to be at a particular place. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in India, retailers still prefer being on the ground floor. So how do you as a mall developer or an owner ensure circulation to all nooks and niches of your mall so that the retailer has the comfort that even if I'm on the second floor, I'll actually have a walk-in from a customer. He wouldn't go directly to the food court or the multiplex from the ground floor. Is there any trick in terms of ensuring circulation across your entire mall and thus convincing the retailer to be part of your zoning or planning as such?
Well, I'll answer that from our perspective. I think Shailesh can also add. When we are designing the mall, so let's take the children's area. Now, if you look at the children's area at CityWalk, there are about 8 or 10 children's brands there of all genres. So there is a Tommy at the top end. There is maybe a Lilliput and a Ginny Johnny also there. So when a customer is coming and he or she wants to buy something for that child, one, he has a choice and he knows in that quick zone, he can find what he needs. Then we bundle the family entertainment center right next to that because exactly what Shalini said, that when mommies come there, they can leave the children and they can go and do their shopping for the children or whatever is needed. Then along with that, we bundled right next to that the beauty parlor. Again, because not every families out there are just for entertainment. There's women who come there for beauty, and that's sometimes they come 2 or 3 times a week. And then on top of that, we bundled, let's say, the toilets close by, the feeding rooms close by. So I guess it's part of design. And then what we did was that when we were originally designing the center, we made the entry of our cinemas from the first floor, and we exited them from the second floor, so the spillover of that 10-15,000 customers a day would permeate down, top down. So you can't do zoning and design of a center without looking at all these things. So truly designing a world-class center is a science and an art together. And it is still evolving. There is no one answer out there, because the challenge comes when brands come and tell us that, listen, we have a children's section within our center. So there is a Zara that has a children's center inside now. They don't want to split, but there is no black and white. Life does not exist that, you have to take your kids out center and put them there. Now, ideally, Shailesh would want the children's section to be inside the main Tommy store, but the problem is that there is no location available there. Now, rather than waiting for 4 or 5 years, we spoke together, we found the right location. Now, from 600 square feet to do 25 lakhs a month, it's all right. I think he's home and dry. And that gives him the confidence to go elsewhere. Shailesh, you want to add to that?
See, in an existing mall and a very successful mall in the top in the country, very easy decision to go. And we had done homework of the business of other brands. We had a sense on walk-ins. So it is easier for a retailer because it's an existing mall. I think it's more difficult in the beginning like Arjun said about design. So if this was a new mall, and if we were talking to a new mall saying, okay, the zoning, so we would have, been a little more careful, and we are definitely more careful before we enter the new mall. But in an existing mall, from my point of view, I had no doubt that we were doing probably the right decision, and we started doing business from day one, and that was a success of Select CityWalk, and we capitalized on their walk-ins and the zoning there. Yeah.
Okay, somebody else at the back was asking a question. I saw another hand. The gentleman there, sir.
I'm Pradeep, and my question is to Arjun. Arjun, your mall has been there for a long time, and from the start till now, what are the efforts that you all have put down to reduce the carbon footprint?
Sorry, to do what?
Carbon footprint.
Carbon footprint. Oh yes, we are extremely conscious of that. We are working very hard, for example, with our suppliers like York, who do our chillers. We do green audits. We are looking at recycling. We recycle every single drop of water in the mall. For example, we have a composting plant inside the mall. So we produce 90 kgs of manure every day. 90 kgs of manure, because the plant is working constantly. So we have a composting plant inside the mall, and there's several examples out there. We look at, the glasses are UV reflective. There is, the water sensors are now throwing in about 30% aeration into this thing. We are looking at ventilation through solar power. So we're very committed to green this thing. Unfortunately, when we built the mall, maybe that did not become the top priority. In hindsight, I wish it was. I wish I was LEED Platinum to begin with. But I think we're doing a lot of sincere effort to retrospectively work on that. And because the mall is center, is successful, we can afford to do that very comfortably. And we don't shy away from spending that investment in making sure the carbon footprint, we are as green as we can. So for example, in one of our retrofitments that we are doing, I don't know if some of you have seen the pyramid in the Louvre, which is in the front courtyard. So we're creating, which is also similar to the iconic Apple store in Fifth Avenue. So we're working that around our whole green approach, and there'll be a whole green center around that. So we are bringing green out into our forefront of our businesses. And of course, we like to use recycled paper and all that. That's par for the course. But thank you for reminding me, sir. Anything else? The gentleman right here. I think we should take the last question. I'm holding you back from lunch, and I think my panelists also will be hungry. But please direct your questions to them. I think the focus should really be on them, because it's their and their customers that we are all here to cater for, and not really to me.
Hi Arjun and the respectable audience. Sir, we have read and heard a lot about the CityWalk success story. But being from the Delhi, I know when the CityWalk was shaping up, there were the bigger brands in your vicinity. and the Vasant Kanj 2 was shaping up. I just want to know the exact thought process which was going on while you were having such a strong neighborhood.
Having such a strong
neighbor in your vicinity.
Well, I think, in my personal opinion, organized retail is such a small fraction of the retail in India. I think there's something for every one of us out there. I don't think we are at all any way nervous about competition. I think, to be honest, I encourage competition. I want our competition to do well because there is a need to offer better platforms across the destinations, across the country, to international retailers and the Indian retailers, both simultaneously, that are growing in this country. Business models of some of the developers were different, but I know certainly, and I'm happy to say it right now on the floor of this table, that I think DLF is doing such a great job. They're in our neighborhood, and I'm very proud of some of the initiatives that they are taking. And I think they're a very, very commendable organization, and I would encourage retailers to work with them equally as they would work with us. There is no difference. Ultimately, we all have the same goal. And I don't see any difference in what they are doing and what we are doing. Yes, they're a larger company. They have their challenges. We're a smaller company. We have our challenges. So I think everybody has their challenges. They have advantages of scale and size. We have advantages of, a small entrepreneur trying to do this. So it does not take away anything from what my colleagues let's say the competitors do and what we do. And I think we all work together at a larger platform, and we want to work in a way in which, the retail industry in this country and to the people who live in our societies, they should have a better international experience. In fact, if you ask me, I'm also happy to work with the high streets. There was a association meeting of the South Extension fellows, and they called me. And this presentation that you saw, I gave it to them as well. And I said, look, you have to improve, because it's not enough for shopping centers to take the load of the new retailers. You have to evolve. So from my perspective, the whole genre of retail has to improve, not just, has to be uplifted. So no questions on any kind of, competitor disadvantage or disadvantage. Anyway,
May I just add one short sentence on this question? Just half a minute. When we started, when we are talking about the time when CityWalk was being formed, of course, there were other malls in the vicinity, and we had to make our choice as well. And we evaluated, and finally we went where we felt we would do best. We felt where we were most welcome. And in the end, it turned out to be the right decision, proving only that name doesn't come first. When you have success, you get the name. You don't have to have the name to get success, which is what is proved by CityWalk. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been told by Images I need to wrap up. So thank you very much. Thank you to my very esteemed panelists. I deeply appreciate your taking time out to come with us this afternoon. Thank you to Images for giving Select CityWalk an opportunity to present itself. And God bless you all. Thank you.